Hello, my wonderfully drowsy time travelers, my fellow lovers of slow-moving history and stories that melt your mind into dreams. Before we begin our journey to the distant past, I'd like to ask you a small favor. These sleepy stories help you drift off. Consider subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us create more content to lull restless minds to sleep. And if you're feeling extra cozy, leave us a comment. Tell us how long you lasted before dozing off. We love reading your experiences. Now, find your most comfortable position. Let your eyelids grow heavy and allow my voice to guide you into relaxation. A bare pink dawn lingers above a glass-still fjord, the world muffled beneath fresh frost. In this hush, we drift toward an old shoreline yard where craftsmen rise slowly, knowing their longship will pass from idea to water in barely half a year. Evidence from saga fragments and dendrochronology aligns. Active building lasts 4 to 6 months, yet the rhythm truly spans a full turn of seasons. With shoulders relaxed, picture woodsmen stepping across crisp snow, creaking faintly under boots. They chew some 60 oaks while sap lies dormant, each trunk arrow straight, grain tight, destined for planks and ribs. Steady axes mark the chilled morning air, and each measured blow guides your own easy exhale. Closer now, we notice the way the foreman's hatchet leaves shallow runic notches on naturally curved knees. Those precious bends where trunk meets branch. Later, they will brace stem and stern, gifting the hull its dragon-sleek resilience. The runes name tree and purpose, anchoring spirit to timber beneath a pale sun, barely edging higher. Faint wood smoke threads upward. The felled giants rest, bark wrapped in neat ranks, exposed to sub-freezing air, yet shaded from harsh wind. For almost 3 quiet months, they surrender moisture slowly, neither splitting nor molding, while moonlight paints a silver lattice over rough bark. This seasoning eases your thoughts into gentle drift, like sap drawing inward for winter sleep. When spring thaw loosens the soil, a 20-meter oak is selected whole. Adzis whisper along its spine, coaxing a keel beam from living grain. Only if a flaw appears will shipwrights cut a scarf joint. Otherwise, a single, unbroken heartwood line would carry raiders silently between wave and sky. The cadence of tools carves a calm pulse through still morning air. Set upon alder cradles, the new keel rests just above tide reach. The very first iron blow of the project sinks a date rune beside a day, month, and honor of the jarl who sponsors the voyage. Seaweed-scented wind brushes wet sand, while our breaths settle like small ripples. Behind the yard, bog iron workers stoke low charcoal mounds. About 1.5 tons of ochre ore are destined for bloomery furnaces. They will yield the soft, workable metal for thousands of rivets. White plumes drift and fade, mirroring a mind unclenching. Charcoal itself demands 15 tons of alder. The hollowed pits glow unseen beneath turf lids. enduring for days while resinous aroma filters through grass. Such slow fires teach patience, carbon atoms aligning while we allow our shoulders to slacken and jaw to loosen. Distant raven calls once, then fades. 4 smiths labor in 12-hour relays to pump twin bellows. Their rhythms never clash with sleep. For each exhale you release follows the hush between hammer strikes. Sparklit darkness surrounds glowing blooms that will harden into square shanked rivets, each no larger than a man's thumb, yet vital as a heartbeat. By late spring, oak boards 2.5 centimeters thick lie ready. They meet along clinker lines, overlapped gently 2 or 3 centimeters, and bend toward the keel like pages folding into a secret. Iron rivets pass through, square rows clenched tight, sealing wood to wood. Listen to the even tap-tap that settles nerves like slow rain on leaves. Nearly 2,500 such fastenings join planks from stem post to stern, every ring of metal cooled in a birch sap pool to temper quietly. A gull's lone cry echoes faintly across water. Then silence returns. Pine tar, brewing, waits for afternoons, when wind slackens to barely a sigh. Sticky resin simmers in cauldrons near the forest edge. Smoke sweet and mild, never allowed to spark. Craftsmen steer slowly, and with each circle our minds trace wide loops, gentle and unbroken. Sheep's wool, carded and mixed with coarse cow hair, soaks within that molten tar until fibers darken like midnight embers. Still warm, the fragrant mix slides between overlapping planks, sealing against whispering brine. Hours later, a second, thinner layer of tar breathes over every seam. Still pliant, catching sun and smelling of resin-coated memories. The hull darkens to the color of damp earth, and we sink deeper into calm shadow. Spruce saplings, steamed inside earth pits, bend soft as willow. Each rib is coaxed to curve, then cool, still bound, retaining a shape that cradles hull under unseen stresses. Steam drifts upward, veiling the shipyard like gentle coastal fog. Instead of nails, shipwrights lash ribs to planks using split spruce roots. The natural fibers flex with wave rhythm, never shearing, like joints of a sleeping cat adjusting with breath. That subtle give allows the vessel to glide noiselessly where stiffer craft might groan. Along the tide line, workmen flatten mud and lay alder rollers, glazed with bovine fat. When launch day comes, logs will turn beneath weight as silent as night tide. Imagine that frictionless motion guiding your own thoughts forward. Free from snag or jolt, the yard itself angles toward prevailing south-westerly breezes. So test sails will billow promptly. Alignment matters, even in calm rattlings. Orientation lets hull and wind converse softly without harsh corrections. 25 master and journeyman shipwrights guide the build, flanked by 10 apprentices whose learning echoes down generations. 4 smiths linger at forges, and all share the same slow sunrise to sunset rhythm. Their combined effort forms a weave of focus in which we too find rest. Smell of fish stew drifts from an iron pot as afternoon hunger eases with warm broth. Throughout high summers, 16 hours of light, adzes scrape, augers turn, saws rasp, yet always in measured cadences. Come winter's return, frost will pause, tar curing. Builders know when to let the vessels sleep as they must. Trusting cycles grants peace. Indoors, women weave a sail of roughly 90 square meters. Lanolin rich, the wool from 150 sheep is fulled until dense yet supple. Loom beams creak quietly, steady and repetitive as a heart at rest. The fabric will drink wind, but resist spray like a blanket cocooning night thoughts. When cloth stiffens to speck, it hangs among rafters where sunmotes drift in slanted light. The subtle oil scent of lanolin soothes like distant meadow grass, warmed by afternoon sun. Silver and grain pay for this craft. The Jarl levies his ledung tax. Thralls haul timber, charcoal, and ore. Economic strands tie village to voyage, yet transactions unfold without haste, each weighed only by need and honor. On the Keeley day, barley grains scatter along timbers, a humble petition to Njord, god of sea, calm. Flakes land, roll, and settle in crevices, just as each exhale leaves the body and finds stillness within. Design wisdom whispers toward stealth. Draft barely 1 meter. The ship may slip up estuary channels where larger hulls ground. Awareness of shallow water under oars settles us near the seabed of dreams. Rawhide strips soften oarlock throats. Thick grease of sheep tallow drawn over them until no wooden squeak betrays motion. We absorb that quiet, letting joints loosen, mind free of creak and chatter. Evening mist curls along river reeds, rigging lines where linen wraps, preventing flap or slap against pine mast. Fabric hushes ropey yonwood contact to a muted rustle, like distant wind through straw eaves. Beneath deck, the mast step receives a carved seat, allowing crew to lower the pole in moments. A crouched silhouette will pass beneath foreign harbor watchfires unnoticed, and we too stoop into softer breath, hiding thoughts from wakefulness. Across ledger tallies, cost measures roughly equal to 100 dairy cows in silver. Though weighty, such investment promises prestige and plunder. For us, it simply marks closure to tonight's gentle survey, no louder than a breeze through pine tops. Now the yard darkens under silver-flecked clouds. Torchhammer dances on tarred planks, ripples of soft light. If you have enjoyed this unhurried drift, consider letting sleepy chronicles accompany more evenings. Subscribe softly if it pleases you. May the half-emished hull rock under pale moon, timbers sighing with tide, and may your own thoughts float likewise into wide forgiving night waters. Free and the moon that silvered last night's quiet hull has waned a little, and with it our focus drifts from tarred planks toward the living rhythm of labor that will animate the vessel. Rather than recount foundations already set, we now feel letosma, light filtering through thin clouds, guiding hands and schedules into careful harmony. Soft gull shadows ripple over calm water as shipwrights fit the mast a straight spruce trunk 18 meters long, tapered by sharp rock knives until grain shines pale gold. Well, the mast step, carved weeks earlier, receives a lining of pliant birch bark. That cushion absorbs minute creaks so nighttime scouts hear only wind. 8 builders hoist the pine yard, 15 meters from tip to tip, using block-canned tackle rigging fashioned of walrus hide straps 20% lighter than hemp, yet thrice as salt-resistant. Daily reads now follow the sun's arc. Sunrise brings a modest meal of dried cod strips, chewed slowly beside curling smoke from peat embers. Midday barley porridge and weak ale form a second pause. And dusk invites rest before darkness cools. 2-hour lulls at noon see apprentices weaving last sail. Patches indoors, lanolin scent mixed with human warmth. Rigging lines tighten in crisp air, while shield carpenters grind ochre pigment with pitch, painting each circular board a muted earth tone. No bright heraldry, stealth instructs restraint. Once dry, shields hang against the gunwale by looped leather, doubling as baffles that break wind chatter along plank edges. Autumn equinox storms approach, so tough blocks rise into low windbreak walls around the slipway. Tar re-hardened on hull begins to soften above 45 degrees Celsius. Foremen check by touch if thumbprint lingers. Fire pits are banked and fresh pine needle smoke. Dieter's insects alighting on sticky seams. Smiths soak square-shanked rivets in cooled seal oil before final blows. The oil eases hammer strokes and leaves microfilm against brine corrosion. Tiny sparks wink and vanish, mirroring eyelids growing heavy. Rowing silence receives its own science. Oarsmen drill at 30 or 4 strokes each minute. Guided by a sandstone struck softly against deck rather than drum, Cadence leader wields a goat skin-wrapped paddle, tapping hull interior almost inaudible beyond arm's length, yet sensed by every rower through wood vibration. Twice each dusk, a listener walks 30 paces toward waterside granite to gauge whether oarlocks carry across surf. When no note reaches him beyond hiss of tide, the crew smiles faintly, comforted that strangers on a sleep-heavy coast will hear less. Light discipline trains alongside silence. Pioneers in lamps hide inside hinged shield boxes. Slits narrow to a finger's width, giving faint amber for not work while masking glow. Provisions follow equal prudence. 160 kilograms of dried cod and 200 liters of mild ale load into pine barrels, lined with beeswax. Wrapped in spare wool sailcloth, barrels nest between ribs, muffling any roll. Launch ramp preparations resume. Laminated alder rollers already grease-coated now receive candle, wax rubbed thin over tallow. an extra sheen for frictionless slide when tide peaks under a new moon in early March days. After fjord ice departs, crew manifests finalize. 48 oarsmen. 5 officers, 2 cooks. Pay agreements record 2 silver ore to each rower, plus equal plunder shares. Officers accept twisted silver arm rings, each weighing 45 grams, clasped at a small hearthside ceremony. Silver catches flickering firelight, though no voice raises above hushed gratitude. Maintenance provisions join the hold. Spare ribs, tapered planks, a ship chest of about 200 kilograms wrought iron nails, rivets, spruce oil coils, beeswax ingots. A second adds. Every 6 weeks at sea, hull will be beached on sloping shingle to scrape barnacles and brush pine koenig-infused oil across waterline boards, preserving stealth glide. Signals that once echoed by brass horn now convert to hand signs traced against night sky. A single raised palm to cease rowing. 2 fingers curled to ship right. Open fist to ready boarding hooks. At closer quarters, even breath counts. Crew practice exhaling through parted lips to dampen resonance within helmet iron. A sealskin pouch weighing scarcely 3 kilograms gauze, sail patch linen, bone needles, and oak gall dye for emergency repairs. Depth-sounding adopts lead cores wrapped in wool. Every half hour, a marked 4 scimitar blowers without splash, providing silent assurance against unseen shoals. Sleeping order aboard will mirror shore watches. 4 rotating groups rest 3 hours apiece beneath fur cloaks, heads toward keel for balance. 1 designated weather reader wakes early, sniffing wind for peat smoke or salt shift that signals coastal change. Dawn's first light gleams over low waves, and our breathing follows that gentle lift. Winter woodlands yield last cargo, misshapen spruce knots, charred and cooled. Boxed to start cooking fires on foreign shores without smoky greenwood sputter. Material economy, always paired with stealth, extends to sewing linen wraps around axe hafts. The cloth stops handles clacking against shield rims when warriors move at night. By late February, frost withdraws from ramp timbers. Foremen mark a 7-day lunar window. New moon, spring tide, prevailing offshore wind. Ritual speaks softly, no trumpets, only barley cakes broken among crew, a whiff of honey mead, and silent oath that oar plashes will not break before a shoreline target appears. And so hours trickle like pitch from warm pine, carrying longship and men toward first voyage. The yard returns to quiet, except for wind stirring dry reeds. If these patient details have eased your thoughts, perhaps invite Sleepy Chronicles again, subscribe in hush, and drift along future journeys as gentle companions. Now, let the half-raised sail ripple against twilight, linen barely brushing mast, while your own awareness settles like cool silt beneath silent water. The palely blue sheen of early March has replaced winter's steel, and our attention glides from yard routines to open water tests, fresh steps, never yet traced in night-quiet timbers. Springtide peaks beneath a moonless sky. This darker stage is perfect for the vessel's first slip to living sea. At high slack water, 12 thralls ease halder rollers with final waxed strokes. A single rope drum tightens. The longship slides forward almost without grind. 3 spans per breath. When keel meets brine, hull settles one forearm deep before buoyant lift steadies her. No cheer rises, only a low hum of satisfaction that carries no farther than nearest rock face. Immediately after launch, 10 rounded granite blocks, each weighing roughly 300 kilograms, descend through hatch openings to become ballast amidships. Their total mass, just over 3 metric tons, balances wind heel and grants quieter ride and chop. Notes scratched onto sheet parchment record stone source, grain, and precise placement for future reference. Brine licks cedar hatch lips in muted rhythm. Shipwrights kneel, examining seams for leaks. Half-cubit oak pegs, carved in tapered form and soaked in pine resin, wedge into any oozing gap. Only 3 minor seeps appear, seeping at 2 drops each minute. Caulking fetters them with wool, teased out by finger, pressed gently home. Water darkens wool, but stops altogether, and anxiety ebbs like slackening tide. Sea trials begin with a measured sprint to Ridgemarker Islet, 10 kilometers seaward. Oarsmen fall quickly into 30 E2 strokes per minute. Hull cutting wake at nearly 7 knots, a pace sagas equate to gull flight under calm. Chief steersman angles the steering board, an ash plank 2.5 meters long and 8 centimeters broad at blade. Ash's lightness reduces fatigue. The board pivots on a lignum vitae dowel, greased with whale oil for weeks of silent travel. Near ridge markers, kelp-frimmed shallows, the captain orders a hard starboard turn. 6 port dockside oars backwater. 6 starboards drive forward, pivoting the ship 90 degrees in 14 seconds. Carved spruce peg marks, that time on gunwale, proof that the vessel can circle within twice her own length, vital for threading hidden estuaries by moonlight. Satisfied, crew raise the wool sail. Halyards hiss softly through walrus-hide thongs. Linen wraps muffle wooden pulleys. Canvas billows square as a meadow altar cloth, catching beam wind of 12 knots and propelling the longship to an effortless 12-knot glide. A low murmur spreads across deck, not excitement, but reverence at how cloth and hull converse in hush. Sunflecks dance between ripples. Sail rings once clanked, yet sprigs of dense wool now cushion each bronze ring. During trial, they produce only dull thuds, quickly absorbed by stretched fabric. Smiths tally ring strike noise at 3 paces, none audible, meeting stealth threshold. Her drums relax. Listeners feel silence rather than hear it. Next, mast lower drill commences among narrow skerries. The tenon step carved earlier allows 20 degree pivot aft. Crew slack sheets. 4 men ease mast backward so spar clears horizon. Time recorded 45 seconds from full height to stowed across thwarts. An extra leather strap with bronze buckle secures yard to port gunwale. Eliminating sail, flap, navigation, instruction follows. Quartermaster unpacks a wooden sun compass disc 30 centimeters wide, incised with cardinal runes. But eyeball, incised with cardinal runes, by aligning noon shadow length with carved solstice curve, steersman holds west-southwest course within a 3-degree margin, even under lightly overcast sky, where only diffuse glow guides line of sight. A tame raven, perched by prow, serves as backup. If released and veers unerringly toward land, sailors adjust heading. Evidence from Icelandic graves suggests such bird guides accompanied voyages north of 56-degree latitude. Here they refine precision for southern raids. Night orientation uses Kokhab and Mizar. Steersman traces invisible cord between them to locate true north, then slides gaze 10 degrees starboard to find intended southeast approach corridor. Stars wheel above, yet hull moves with unbroken equilibrium. Crew learn to measure 12 oar strokes per minute by watching Polaris hold still. Thin polar glow filters through sailcloth, calm as a held breath. Food stores undergo evaluation. Barrels line keel walkway. 200 liters of ale, 20 kilograms rye biscuits, and bundles of dried ling cod tied with birch bark. Each oarsman receives 80-day ration, sealed in goat hide pouch to prevent mouse incursion. Dog. One cook prepares spruce needle infusion once per watch, providing vitamin-laden warmth against scurvy on longer passages. Medical chest weighs 5 kilograms. Horn cup, copper lancet, yarrow leaf, salve, honey in cork-sealed jar, and a block of Icelandic sulfur to cleanse wounds by smoke. Surgeon demonstrates lancing an imagined blister, then covers the spot with soft wool pads smelling faintly of honeycomb. No words break stillness beyond needed instruction. Weapon silence receives equal attention. Axes and spears ride inside oak chest lined with seal fur. Breastplates stuff with dried moss to stop clang. Helmets nest inverted within each other. Bronze nose guards wrapped in lambskin. Before final shakedown sail, crew walk deck while quartermaster listens from shoreline. Only boom of distant surf reaches him. The raid target, an island monastery called Lindiso, 8.5 nautical leagues southwest, enters planning scrolls. Intel from coastal traders. Cites population of 12 monks, 1 iron-bound church door, and silver chalices weighing perhaps 300 grams each. Timing sets departure 2 nights before new moon in April. Arrival intended 2 hours before dawn, when seabirds cry least and tides lift vessel near shingle bank. Departure evening glimmers with coral-pink afterglow fading to violet. Sail remains furled. Oars alone propel ship through fjord mouth where spruce silhouettes guard secrets. 42 rowers split into 3 watches. 2 on deck, 1 resting beneath sailcloth canopy, until rotation at quiet hour. Whispered orders pass by touch on shoulder, not voice. Halfway across open water, wind freshens. Surskit lights spray flex faces. But silence persists. Steering adjustments never exceed one hand's breadth on tiller. Lash lines absorb jolt. Sidereal navigation confirms path. Raven released an hour before landfall circles thrice, then returns. Quartermaster marks correction 2 degrees west. Crew feel hull glide like shadow, with coastline now a low charcoal smudge. Mast lowers, sail furled tight, spar thumps once against leather grip, stillness returns. Oarlocks grease fresh, tallow mixed with charcoal blacken spoon-shaped blades to avoid glint. Rowers shift to half-stroke, reducing splash size by 70% according to earlier tests. Only distant breakers murmur against unseen shore. At beaching moment, prow kisses sandbar under one knot. Forward motion. Helmsman calls halt with lifted palm. Hull settles gently. Warriors tread down ramp of rawhide laid over gunwale. Feet muffled by felted wool soles stitched that week. Monastery bell remains silent, its tongue secured by prior storms. Fate sings in hush instead. Within Stone Church, iron-bound coffer opens to reveal silver reliquary, 2 gold-leafed gospel clasps, and wax tablets of tithe counts. Each piece lists into hide sacks whose combined weight equals 94 kilograms below ship's spare load allowance. No dwelling is burned. Stealth doctrine insists flames betray roots. Raiders withdraw as dawn-gray fingers stretch across western sky. Hull boards along wet sand until half-tide. Crew re-embark. An tar rope looped round granite outcrop helps drag stern free. Rollers under keel lighten touch. Oars push backward, eddies swirl. Opal green colors beneath rising sun, but still no splash exceeds hush of shore birds. Once clear of shoals, mast stands again. Sail fills with offshore breeze, promising swift return before noon. On deck, monk-crafted chalice reflects first sunlight. Captain covers it with linen lest shine call watchers. Oars a-stow. Crew slice rye bread. Share ale mouthful. And breathe slow while salt wind dries clothing. By evening, they re-enter home, fjord. Ritual dictates a single silver coin tossed into deepest channel. As thanks to Aegir, coin rings once, then water swallows note. Shipwrights on pier note hull sits true. Ballast stable, no fresh seams leaking. Next morning, maintenance begins. Barnacles scraped with iron spatulas fall into buckets. Later, dried as pig feed. Warm pine cone, oil brushed along waterline boards, returns dark sheen. Rivet heads examined show zero shear. Smiths nod before banked forge fire. Word of silent success travels fjord villages. Jarl proudly adds arm ring weight to each oarsman's wrist, 5 grams extra, and orders second longship built to identical hush standards. Prestige flows, yet stories speak softly. Fortune favors those who move beneath notice. Late evening mist descends over mirror-flat water, cloaking returning hull in quiet silver glow. Should you wish to float beside other twilight journeys, you may subscribe in gentle accord, but take ease. Let these cool visions settle into your night. Allow the empty fjord to cradle your thoughts. The longships wake already smoothed and drift softly toward undisturbed rest. Morning fog drifts away from the fjord, revealing the longship at anchor after her silent raid. Yet adventure does not end with cargo offloading. A vessel built for stealth must survive decades of use, and so craftsmen extend their care in continuous, rhythmic cycles that mirror seasons as faithfully as time. Hull upkeep begins 3 days after return. Evidence from Skoldilev wreck analysis shows that pine tar surfaces remain watertight for roughly 12 weeks in North Sea. Salinity before microfishes appear. Thus, shipwrights schedule tar reapplication exactly 4 times each year. On a gently sloping shale beach, 30 warriors lever oak poles beneath keel, not rollers this time, but fulcrums to see a hull tilt starboard, then port. Tar Vong scent mingles with fresh kelp, while brushes made from horsehair sweep hot resin across clinker seams. Tar boiling requires more than pine. Crushed juniper berries, added at 5% mass, extend antifungal life by 2 lunar cycles, a fact recorded in an 11th century medicinal scroll from Hust. Masters ladle this darkened mix at dusk when air cools, ensuring resin permeates oak pores before setting in braided gloss. Beneath waterline, barnacle removal proceeds with bronze scrapers 6 fingers broad. Bronze spares oak from gouging, yet stays sharp in brine longer than iron. One oarsman records shedding of approximately 8 kilograms of growth each cleaning, which hydrodynamic trials suggest saves half a knot in calm seas. The removed shells dry in wicker trays. Later crushed, they stiffen lime plaster for shore granaries, linking maritime maintenance with agrarian architecture. Rigging receives equal foresight. Walrus hide straps, though resilient, stiffen when left salt-soaked. Quartermaster notes a replacement interval of 18 months to avoid tearing under gale stress. Each discarded strap becomes shield rim binding, proof that nothing in the Jarl's domain escapes pragmatic reuse. The snap of hide under pull tests offers crisp counterpoint to gull calls overhead. Sail wool absorbs spray minerals, dulling flexibility after 2 campaigns. Laundering occurs in freshwater pools fed by snow melt. Women tramp cloth under bare feet, massaging lanolin back into fibers. Then dry the sail on birch poles, angled sunward, exactly 27 degrees, optimum for April latitude, drying without measurements appear scrimshawed onto whalebone rule kept in sail loft. Rivets to require observation. Statistical sampling of 100 fastenings per season reveals average attrition of 3 sheared heads annually. Due to vibrational fatigue, replacement uses dual-peening technique invented south along Danish coast. First hammer flattens, shank against rove. Second hammer set at 90-degree angle compresses edge, filling microscopic gaps. Archaeometallurgy tests indicate 30% longer lifespan over single peen method. Keel protection advances beyond resin. After second year, craftsmen add an elm keel shoe, a sacrificial plank 5 cm, thick-etched by copper spikes, spaced 1 cubit apart. Copper's galvanic reaction discourages shipworm larvae, extending core keel integrity by at least 10 winters, according to Trondheim Harbor records. Elm shoes, once worn to half thickness, detach easily with wedge taps, and new shoes bolt on without hull haul-out, minimizing downtime. Upgrades respond to external threats too. Word filters through trader networks. Frankish watchtowers now mount iron bells that carry over water. To match escalated vigilance, shipwrights experiment with hemp fiber composite oar blades wrapped in boiled oxhide. Tests on Lake Ulvik show splash volume reduced 7% relative to oak blades. Warriors note reduced wrist fatigue due to half-kilo lighter weight per oar. An innovation for rapid beach exit appears in scribbled marginalia of a monastic chronicle. Detachable stern anchor flukes forged with hinge pins. When rowers push forward to depart, fluke arms collapse flat, ripping free of sand without heavy hauling. Forging requires carbonate edge on hinge, tempered in horse urine to avoid brittleness, odorous but effective. Smiths attest steam arises from quenched iron, mingling with sharp scent that soon dissipates on sea breeze. Inside hull, cargo stow evolves. Iron-bound chests, once placed amidships, now relocate under benches using large rails coated in beeswax. Rails keep weight low and allow boxes to slide silently as load shifts. Tests on simulated 10-degree roll show center of gravity variation narrowed by 4 centimeters, reducing roll-induced creak audible at shoreline distances during calm nights. Political currents guide retrofits as surely as tides. The Jarl who funded the first build gifts 5 silver brooches to King Harold's court, seeking alliance. In return, he gains legal right to fell century gold oaks in royal forest south of Hedley. These mature timbers, rings dense from cold upland growth, suit reinforcement beams installed between rib pairs, raising hull rigidity by 9% per stress rib deflection measurements. Shipyard payroll evolves accordingly. Journeyman wage climbs from 4 to 5 silver ore each month, offset by new portage tax enforced on passing traders. Ledger tablets tally 12% rise in yard income by midsummer. Economic records carved on beach strips show coin flow feeding tin imports from Cornwall, allowing experimental bronze ratios that increase rivet corrosion resistance. Comparative practice emerges across Baltic shorelines. Observers at Saaremaa note Estonian longship variants replacing spruce ribs with yew lighter yet more elastic. Viking foremen examine sample yew, testing flex under 60-kilogram load. Deflection 6 millimeters greater than spruce, yet return to shape perfect. Adoption decision pending. Initial order of 18 yew ribs slated for trial on sister ship. Seasonal labor cadence remains heart of maintenance. At spring equinox, crew scrape hull, midsummer retire. Autumn equinox, replace worn rigging. Midwinter, rest to craft nets, mend clothing, and share quiet sagas by hearth. This cyclical discipline fosters community memory. Apprentices recite phases like runic verses, ensuring no task overlooked. Winter layup shelters hull inside boathouse, heated by peat braziers. Temperature aimed steady at 5 degrees Celsius prevents shrink split in oak planks. Hygrometer made of horsehair indicates moisture. When hair shortens by 1 millimeter, ventilator slats open to let damp out. Such early hygrometry surfaces in an 870 CE farmer's almanac. Now fragmentary? Yet lessons endure behind wooden walls. Meanwhile, ledger scribes track spear inventory. For each missing weapon, owner owes 2 days' labor, weaving fishing nets for fjord widows. Social contract binds martial pursuit with communal welfare, echoing line in Havamal praising measured generosity. Cattle die, kindred die, but the fair name never fades. This reciprocal ethic refines respect among warriors, reducing theft and hidden quarrel. Shipboard drills adjust to new equipment, or cadence slows to 30 strokes per minute. When hemp blades used, mitigating blade flex resonance, captain adopts cork-filled leather mallet to signal pivot commands, struck twice on mast step, pitch lower than former sandstone, tap to better blend with surf hush, hearing realm seldom stands still. Adaptation becomes continuous art. Supply chain matures. Tar production, once local, now supplemented by resin bricks imported via rivers from Kievan, Rus. Each brick stamped with Cyrillic seal. Dat gat atjata, Density tests by immersing in brackish tub ensure batch purity. Inferior bricks sink quicker and are rejected. Accepted resin yields thinner, more penetrating varnish, applied in 2 diluted coats, replacing single thick layer, decreasing weight by 12 kilograms overall. A broader network means diplomatic gifts, including wolfskin cloaks lined with beaver fur, exchanged for access to distant harbors. Records carved on walrus tusk account for 17 cloaks shipped to Wendish chieftains in a single season. Each cloak costing 2 days, sailcloth weaving and returning 3 iron ingots. Resource synergy ties coastline families into expansive silent fleet. Each autumn after 3rd campaign, crew retrofit prow carving, original dragon head replaced by sleeker serpent with open jaw, tongue split as wave cutter. Tests into Yomater, swell note. spray deflection pattern, arcs left rather than upward, reducing deck wetness by 20% and thus creak risk in soaked planks. Decoration serves function. Artistry shadows science beneath sultry air. New stealth paint arises, soot mixed with fish oil binder, applied thin over tar. Soot layer darkens hull to absorb moonlight. Fish oil ensures hydrophobic finish. Spectral reflectance measurements, primitive yet keen, compare glow under starlight. Observers note half-meter. Visibility reduction beyond 30 paces. Together with linen-wrapped rigging, effect creates ghost black silhouette gliding beneath aurora's glow. Green ribbons waver overhead, drifting like thoughts toward dream edges. After each voyage, diaries detail time lost to repairs. First year, 30 or 2 crew days. Second year, 26. Third, 21. Decline credited to refined maintenance schedule. Efficiency becomes their lullaby, a gentle assurance that vigilance now yields longer stretches of seafaring calm. Free of hammerclack. Looking ahead, shipwrights explore ironbark, composite mast, outer layer of split oak staves, banded by heated iron hoops, cooling to clamp wood in compressive embrace. Trial mast stands inside yard, flex tested under 400 kilogram load. Bend radius matches spruce yet promises 5-year lifespan before rot. Adoption awaits next winter felling. Yet all tech must meet stealth creed. If innovation adds noise, weight, or glare, it fails. Thus, Copperfield plate considered for hull's forefoot is shelved. Hammer ping produced ringing audible across Still Bay. Silence trumps durability, humble principle, guiding each choice. Funding streams widen through distant tribute. Irish kings agree to pay silver Danageld. If longships abstain from harbors each harvest, in 10 years' span, Jarl's coffers fill without battle, money redirecting into craftsmanship scholarships. 2 apprentice smiths travel to Hedeby to study pattern welding, returning with plan for lighter wolf-tooth spearheads. Crew comfort slowly improves. Deck risers now rest on felt pads soaked in seal grease. Muting thud beneath boots. Hammocks appear wool nets. Slung midship allow warriors to sleep suspended. Spine straight, hull motions dampened. Each hammock stitched with owner's runic initials to deter swapping. Waves lap quietly against hull planks. Gentle cradle for those still hours. Finally, law codes catch up. The Thing assembly enacts rule. Any longship venturing beyond Shetland must carry healer versed in seabird oil salve. After a recent raid left 2 rowers with salt sores that festered, compliance adds weight of medical trunk, but cuts convalescence periods by half, as written in cure tally. And so, years weave into decades. The longship once new becomes layered with elm shoes, soot coats, iron bandings, an intangible wisdom of countless silent approaches. Yet its bones the oak keel, scrawled with runes that first winter dawn remain unchanged beneath every adjustment. If this measured march of craft and care has stilled your breathing tonight, allow Sleepy Chronicles to guide further voyages. Subscribe softly should the notion appeal, and we will whisper of northern horizons again. Now, let the moon-polished planks lie quiet under star shower, while your own thoughts drift like tar-dark water, untroubled and deep. Barely a fortnight after the Longships' elm keel tasted new tar, spring stars sharpen above the fjord, inviting attention away from plank and rivet toward the invisible highways that bind wave to sky. Tonight, we journey through the quiet sciences and softer superstitions that steer silent hulls across darkened seas. A pale band of aurora quivers, promising direction without voice. Early in each voyage, steersmen consult a palm-sized sunboard carved from drift arch, dated dendrochronologically to 825 CE at Unartok. The disk bears concentric equinox arcs and a single gnomon stub whose noon shadow sketches latitude within half a degree, astonishingly steady for wood-dried and salty air. When overcast hides the sun, Iceland spar crystals, clear as frozen flame, emerge from oiled leather pouches, rotated slowly above one eye. These sunstones split polarized skylight. The darker axis points sunward, even beneath cloud. Tests at Trondheim University show variance under 10 degrees at twilight, sufficient for nights that never fully darken above 60 degrees north. Predicting tide height matters as much as bearing. A hemp rope 4 fathoms long hangs in the helm tent. 15 gold beads knotted at unequal spacing. Each bead marks how far equinoctial tide climbs against fjord cliff. When moon sets, helmsman slides finger to bead aligned with phase carved on rune stick. Error remains within a handspan, guiding beach landings with silent certainty. Time aboard drifts without clocks. Instead, a treated flax cord, thick as a quill, threads through a seal-fat land. 9 waxed knots melt one every half hour. Navigator notes charred gaps by touch in total blackness, adjusting coarse notes onto birch slat. Char residue rinses away with seawater, leaving cord ready for another night. Weight gain negligible. Weather augury comes by cloud grammar. Sailmaster watches altocumulus ripples like sheepbacks. Norse call them Fyrski fair winds within 2 watches. Grey turrets of Hagelhui warn squall. Crews furl sail before mast camber stiffens. An 11th century Bergen parchment. Log 79% accuracy for this oral code across 4 seasons. Birds lend further mapping. In outer Skagerrak, sighting gannets wheeling at dawn, signals land within 20 nautical miles. Puffins shorten that promise to 10. Helmsman Tallybird passes per quarter war, using beaded thong on wrist, adding a fresh fact to nightly logstick. At night, surf echoes stand in for absent lighthouse beams. Scouts lash around hide shield inside bow hull, tapping its rim. They await echo bounce from cliffs. Delay length converts to distance, roughly 3 heartbeats per half-kilometer under calm air. Trials near Bornholm confirm margin of error below 10%. Adequate for stealthy approach. Currents reveal themselves by drift logs. Oak billets hollowed at one end, filled with goose down, tossed astern register rate of separation. Steersman counts oar strokes until log vanishes beneath stern lantern shadow. 10 strokes per arm's length, gap equal half knot westward. Set data etched into mast with bone awl after watch. Even scent guides path. Peat smoke carries farther across dusk water than speech. Navigators learn that one deep inhale of faint turf odor usually means shoreline hearth within 4 leagues. Crews rehearse holding breath, 10 strokes to isolate foreign smoke threads from tar vapor. Rhythm of silence includes song muted to hum. Rowers memorize a chant pitched near 90 hertz below seabird hearing and exhale vowel drones that align stroke timing. Acoustic tests in sheltered bay detect no hum beyond 30 paces. Yet inside hull, vibration knits crew hearts, steady as sleeping tides. Long passages strain minds to blunt hallucinations spun by grey horizon. Quartermaster burns 3 juniper sprigs in bronze bowl at dusk. Mild smoke calms eyes, its herbal resin proven by modern chemists to lower pulse 8 beats per minute. Saga fragments credit fewer sea specters among crews using this rite. Each ship carries a sculled navigator who recites John Ream, the star rhyme, naming rising order of 20 constellations. Sequence doubles as memory palace for reefs, distances, and river mouths. One misspoken name signals fatigue. Watch rotation shifts before error grows. Faint harp string echoes in imagination, though no instrument sounds on deck. Knowledge transfer rests on carved drift sticks passed to younger helmsmen. Each stick records 3 successful routes with notch patterns. Deep cut U-wave full day sail. Shallow hop half. Angled slash marks dangerous shoal. A specimen found at Osberg measures 60 centimeters yet preserves data for 600 kilometers of coastline. Foreign influence filters slowly. An Arabic astrolabe fragment, bronze and silver inlaid, reaches Hedeby via Frankish merchant. Viking smiths copy its rite pattern in iron, producing a heavier but serviceable star plate offering altitude readings to 1 degree. Only 3 copies exist, fitted with ash pointer that folds flush to avoid clink. Mediterranean forays inspire hull. Tweaks. Observers note Saracen galley's corner by twin side rudders. Norse carpenters add detachable larboard steering oar for experimental control. Sea trials off Galicia trim turn radius another 15%, though added rudder removed before raids to reduce noise. Anchoring at night uses sea anchor baskets woven from willow and weighted with fist-sized stones. Deployed on 60-fathom flax line, Basket drags hull athwart wind, limiting drift to 2 knots while maintaining bow into chop. Field test west of Shetland Records crew. Sleep gains average 30 E5 extra minutes per cycle, owing to steadier deck angle. Fresh water stretches by capture funnel, fast-shaped Burke panels, tied between mast stays during fog. Condensed droplets channel through goater horn, spout into large cask. On dense mornings, funnel yields 9 liters, enough to brew juniper tea without cutting ale stores. Dead calm seas remove need for oars, but steel steerage. Midshipers practice idling scull. A single oar lashed near stern sweeps Vigorite motions, advancing hull 2 knots in absolute hush. Anatomy of move learned from Chinese junk visiting Volga. Rekud carved runes credit strange eastern ship without naming dynasty. Bilge water lifts by sealskin bladder. Bellows. Paddle squeezes 5 liters per stroke through bronze check valve. Operating noiselessly compared to wooden scoop. Greased sealskin flexes 50 cycles before cracking. Spare bladders rolled under aft bench. Herbal medicine aboard adapts too. Surgeon boils willow bark in seawater, extracting salicin for fever. Adds dried crowberry leaves supplying vitamin C. Field note in faded ink claims. Scurvy lesions halt within 10 days. A boon for longer trade legs toward green. Law oversees loot fairness. Upon return, Jarl convenes in under open sky. Scribe tallies weight of silver. Allocates 12th share to hull upkeep fund. Low stick tapped thrice seals counts. Any dispute carries fine of 1 animal hide per oath broken. Feeding widow relief chest. Culture ashore absorbs ship silhouettes. New stave church in village hove. Shapes its roof ridge in elegant upward curve, mimicking prow stem. Builders cite belief that dragon tip facing heaven's wards lightning. Archaeologists later measure identical curvature, radius 18 degrees. As found on Skoldalev 5, Stempost. Dragon imagery blends myth and engineering. Keel's serpentine spine symbolizes Yomunga, encircling Midgard. Thus continual maintenance is devotional act keeping worlds safe from cosmic collapse. Warriors whisper this during night watch, easing hearts from battle worry. Burial customs adapt hull method. Respected helmsman interred in clinker plank coffin, only 2 planks high. Edges overlapped and tarred. Skeleton from Kopan confirms 6 rivets, securing lid miniature echo of full vessel. Grave goods include sunboard broken to signify final voyage. History itself etched on granite runestones. Newly raised monolith near Ortdal lists voyage seasons. We sailed west thrice under silent oars, east twice under hidden sail. Scholars debate date, inscription, style matches, 9th century rye, type 4, carbon dust in rune grooves, aligns with pine tar lamp residue, lingering dusk. deepens violet. Lanterns dim. Behind, linen flaps should this serene mapping of shadows and stars have eased your waking thoughts. Know that sleepy chronicles will always chart another gentle course. Subscribe softly and drift on our next hush-lit horizon. Now surrender to dark water beyond prow, where constellations ripple across your closed eyes, steering your dreams along their own secret routes. Each granite runestone raised beside fjord paths points beyond raids toward wider currents of exchange. This evening we follow those hushed sea roads, tracing goods, ideas, and settlements, unfolding from silent hulls, gliding under patient stars. Amber dawn mist hovers over calm tide, and merchants load rough sacks of Baltic pine resin. A single longship, 30.2 tons displacement by Skoldilev extrapolation, carries roughly 5 tons of resin blocks, weight balanced forward of mast to counter silver kegs aft. Westbound cargo often begins with walrus, ivory, archaeological ledgers at Dublin's Wood Quay. "276 ivory tusks, received between 902 and 912. Return voyages to Birka favor silk boats. Silk, measured by ells about 64 centimeters, arrived folded around cedar slats to deter mold. One ship manifest, scratched on copper lamina recovered near Lake Malaran, notes 340 ells weighing 86 kilograms, stowed beneath benches within Gotchiskin bags. Silver payment moved opposite direction. Kufik dirhams, minted in Samarkand 150 years earlier, aggregate within linen purses. A purse rarely contained more than 40 coins. Hoard patterns suggest crews divided currency to limit loss if storm claimed their vessel. Soft clink of silver rings faintly, then subsides. Trade seasons observe subtle calendar. Eastbound ships depart July new moon, using prevailing southwest wind. Westbound return mid-September before North Atlantic gales harden. Logs from bulating law scrolls prescribe 5 silver ore fine for captains sailing after first frost risk, deemed community hazard. Cargo limits rely on beam span. With 5.2-meter beam, longship freeboard becomes slim when total live load passes 12 tons. Steersman mark Plimsoll by carving fish symbol near 5th plank seam. If water kisses fish eye, excess bale offloaded to lighter craft. Colonization requires broader planning. Iceland's first settlers in late 860s retrofitted longships with temporary deck partitions. Oak hurdles lined with turf housed 3 dairy cows and 20 sheep. Residue of fodder seeds found in foundered settlement ship at Vatnsfjordur confirms hay storage equaled 8 cubic meters. Travel with livestock shortened leg sizes. Crew limited daily row shift to 20 strokes per minute, preventing animal panic. Surge rhythms calmed cattle when dull thud of hoof against plank matched heart's slow beat. Fresh water demanded ingenuity. 2 cedar barrels, each 120 liters, lashed amidships at keel. Frost lines carved inside staves predicted ice expansion. Staves cut to feathered joint allowed swelling without split. Voyagers bound for Greenland faced sea ice rafts. Carved narwhal tusk poles served as ice probing spears. Measurement scratches, every cubit indicated flow thickness. Anything beyond fifth mark required detour, saving hull from crush. Settlement goods included barley seed, varieties adapted to 90-day growing window. Pollen core samples from Lake Mývatn strain, described in Gragas law as quick gold yield, matured 15 days sooner than mainland breed. Cultural threads wove inland. Hibernonor's brooches found at Waterford fuse Celtic spiral with Scandinavian interlace. Metallographic analysis detects dual alloy zones. High-10 bronze for luster, low-10 for flexibility technique, credited to shared Smith workshops. Language bears quiet traces. Old Norse word scar, gap, loans into Scots, Gaelic as scarb, meaning cleft rock map, tokens for pilots hugging Scottish coastlines. Ples Ginami overlap maps mark 340 instances along hybrids. Legal systems mingle in harbour markets. Dublin Thingmote charters from 1024 CE require Norse traders to weigh silver on Hibernian stone weight, maintaining parity. Stone, still preserved, grooves with 3,000 years of coin abrasion. Timber scarcity on Iceland sparks imports. Longships arriving empty westbound. Fill holds with drift, large logs harvested at White Sea, each 11 meters long. Records on runestick from Ainvillier count 30 or 4. Logs landed 998 CE, enabling roof beams for whole of law. ... Silent hulls also carry people beyond freedom. Thrall rolls at Hedeby show 120 captured carpenters sold to Frankish estates during single summer. Yet quiet, moonlit oars reveal no splash of protest economy moves in hush. Weather diaries etched on pine tablets track North Atlantic wave period. Cruise note, average 9-second swell. Any dip below 7 seconds foretells gale. Within 2 watches, modern buoy reconstructions validate correlation. At 80% accuracy, storm refuge practices refine. When wind shifts to sudden northwest, steersman orders quarter sail. Linen panel half-reefed along yard's starboard end. This luffing technique reduces speed, yet maintains steering. Trial data from Skal Model Lab in Roskilde replicate maneuver, decreasing leeway, drift by 18%. Long quiet nights nurture ritual. On Equinox Crossing, Skald chants 9-wave charm, each verse whispering goddesses of wave, blessing hold from leak. Shh. A sea axe tip dipped thrice into sea seal's vow. Moonlight glints on small blade tip. Then darkness returns. Christian influence grows modestly aboard. Carved cross on steersman's seat appears mid-10th century. Yet Thor's hammer amulet still hangs at mast foot. Dual talismans coexist, a silent debate between thunderer and carpenter, born in Nazareth. Born in Nazareth. Medical wisdom borrows abroad. Surgeons adopt Arab lensine copper. Scalpel, heated Regia hot. Cooling within honey before incision. Practice has infection, cases per skeleton lesion analysis. At Ripe Cemetery, tall trade networks extend south to Cordoba. Ivory tusks offloaded at Alhandalus, replaced by saffron strands sealed in glazed amphorae. Each amphora weighs 3.2 kilograms, including clay. Pigment inside dyes 40 sailcloth banners on home shores. Though banners rarely unfurl in stealth time, file loading adopts new device. Rope sling block with birchwood sheave. Lifts up to 500 kilograms with 2U man effort. Scrap pattern etched on Osberg frame becomes blueprint across Baltic yards within decade. Backhaul cargo. Sometimes intangible stories. Scout returns with account of fire water distilled by Arabs. Within generation, Norse adapt potterstill using copper cauldron. First recorded aquavit sample at Borg 1000. Fee infuses caraway from Orkney fields. Population expansion calls for naming protocol. Law speaker decrees daughter may use patronymic one maternal ancestry. If father absent on voyage longer than 12 winters. Runestone at gelling lists. Woman Thyove, daughter of Eric Haraldsdottir, double lineage, rare elsewhere. Economy triggers. Coin, minting in Hedeby by 825 CE. Dis cut from Musebon initially. Lasted 4,000 strikes before hairline cracks. Silver content averages 84%, proven by isotope matching to rural mines. Ships shape myths abroad. Irish annals describe black-bellied whales stealing cows. Scholars realize metaphor for soot-coated hulls with livestock ramp. Cultural fear becomes sea monster lore. Quiet influence penetrates measure. English furlong, originally Norse Jarlang. Distance plowed before ox turn. Field systems adjust along Danelaw, leaving hedgerow lines still visible in lidar maps. Night breeze rustles linen sail, drying along shore posts, carrying cinnamon hint from Andalusian spice strayed into rope fibers. Drowsy senses mark faint warmth, drifting deeper as stars arch overhead. If these drifting legacies of trade and colony soothe your thoughts, you might softly let sleepy chronicles unfold more journeys, subscribe in silence, and we shall wander further still. Let the ocean of history settle calm above you now, its currents gentle and unbroken, guiding sleep like a slow, endless tide. Forests around the fjord breathe silvery dawn, while our focus slips from cargo, holds toward the slender blades and oaken shields that once balanced stealth with sudden force. No thunder of war horns disturbs the hush. Instead, we examine how weapons, tactics, and eventual transitions unfolded under the same disciplined calm that guided silent oars. Wet grass beads cool against leather soles, grounding attention in measured peace. Bronze-tipped spears emerge first from storage chests. Average shaft length recorded in ribdig measures, 2.3 meters. Trimmed from straight ash to flex without fracture. Iron heads forge-welded in pattern of alternating low and medium carbon layers. Weigh 180 grams, light enough for one hand thrust, yet stout against shield edges. Smithing diagrams etched on whalebone suggest quenching in seal oil at 780 degrees C, yielding microhardness 15% higher than water-quenched blades. Shields arrange along gunwale in overlapping warp. Each round board spans 85 centimeters. Pine core faced with radial oak planks only 6 millimeters thick, reducing overall mass to 4.5 kilograms. Experimental reconstruction at Trelleborg shows this piney oak. Laminate absorbs axe impact. Fibers delaminating gradually rather than splintering explosively. Front surface receives linseed-soaked rawhide, stretched wet. As hide dries, it shrinks. Pre-tensioning boards so arrows glance off at shallow angles. Boarding hooks extend ships, reach without loud collision. Iron hook, length 50 centimeters. Attached to hemp line spiked with tar and soot for non-reflective finish. Tests towing 2 vessels at Roskilde Harbor calculate hook embed angle of 42 degrees for optimal penetration into plank seam, yet ease of twist release during retreat. Salt wind threads through hemp fibers. Faint resin, scent, drifting. Rowing cadence for assault differs subtly from cruising rhythm. Commanders reduce stroke to 28 per minute, decreasing bow wave height below gunwale level, measured by floating reed markers trailing prow during practice drills. Lower wave reduces slapping sound against hull sides, an acoustic footstep that once betrayed approach near Hamburg Monastery. Helmets, once broad-crested, transitioned to Spangen style by late 10th century. Excavations at Germandbo reveal 6 convex iron plates riveted around octagonal band. Each plate only 2 millimeters thick, yet domed for strength. Comparative drop test indicates domed helmet deflects vertical strike of 15 jewel spear thrust. Dent depth limited to 3 millimeters, enough to bruise, not fracture skull. Male hauberks appear in Jarl's retinue. Each shirt weighs about 10 kilograms, constructed of alternating riveted and solid links, 4-in-1 weave. Wow. Source copper isotopes in excavated rivets align with smelting pits near Ruros, tying armor supply chain to same silver mines funding hull upkeep. Soft jingle, muffled by wool surcoat, prevents nighttime metallic giveaway. Archers occupy mid-deck platform of interlocked pine planks spanning 2 thwarts. Platform elevates shooter 0.6 meters, clearing shield rim. Arrowheads for stealth raids follow Bodkin's slim profile, cross-section pentagonal, reducing wind hiss. Recoveries at Whitby, shoal, arrow grooves, burnished with beeswax, mixed lavender oil, lowering friction, and scent masking iron tang, fire countermeasures, evolve. Against Byzantine Greek fire, captains stock clay flasks of vinegar and sand, mixture thrown onto sticky flames cools and smothers. Written marginal note in 11th century Hollarm manuscript. Prescribes 3 handfuls sand to 1 flask vinegar per square cubit of deck. Trials on replica hull. Record. Flame extinction under 12 seconds with solution. Longship hulls adapt narrow prow wings, small flare boards fastened port and starboard, just aft stempost. Wings deflect incoming projectiles and reduce spray. Dendra tests date earliest wings to 920 CE Haugesund wreck. Hydrodynamic model in Danish basin shows negligible drag penalty, yet 6% reduction in deck wetting events during Beaufort. Psychology of silence dominates tactics. Before boarding, warriors rub axe shafts with dried bog myrtle, releasing astringent scent masking human sweat. Herb residue analysis on axe handle from Dublin's Fishamble Street. Vault matches formula described in herbal poem Sigri Fumel, stanza 7. Communication uses hand shadow code. Torch hidden behind linen screen. Projects finger patterns onto sail. One fist ish old course. Splayed hand a raise shields. Crossed index H starboard. Sails tar blackened underside. Ensures image sharpness as far aft as stern steering board. Yet invisible to watchers ashore. Casualty treatment remains quietly systematic after skirmish. Surgeon sprinkles Bertha powder into laceration. Antiseptic salicylate recorded to cut infection. Incidence by half relative to honey alone. Splinter forceps carved from reindeer antler exhibit beveled grip ends. Microceration maintaining hold on wooden shards. Weapon upkeep parallels hull cycles. Every 72 days, Smith sets portable forge on beach. Coal from low countries, imported in sacks of eel skin, burns hotter than alder charcoal, permitting blade reddage at 800 degrees C, with quench in seawater, momentarily to minimize hiss. Observers on cliff report no audible sizzle beyond breaker noise. By mid-11th century, raids wane as European coasts brace with stone keeps and garrison bells. Longships convert from stealth assault to toll-collecting escorts called snakkar. Broader beam, 6 meters, but same shallow draft. Source sketch in Anglo-Norman Chronicle identifies snakkar distinguishing feature. Forward deckhouse storing trade bale, covered by tarred linen awning. Merchant adaptation reduces armament mass by 22%, freeing cargo volume for rye and iron ingots. Calculations in Hedeby balance book. Note profit margin doubling compared to raid loot yield due to reduced casualty cost. Right. Political alliances redirect Jarl fleets toward levy service under King Senat. Ship rotas engraved on oak plaque list. 120 oarsmen, drafted every 3 summers. Their silk armbands dyed Tyrian, purple a color, obtained through Frankish deals rather than Phoenician murex. Christianization alters spiritual shield of crew. Wooden cross now fixed to aft deck beam. Yet Smith still engraves Thor's hammer beneath for private assurance. Dual faith fosters new hymn, quietly hummed in place of home chant. 80-note progression named Nar mode. Intervals later mirrored in Icelandic rimmer singing tradition. Ship burials adapt to baptismal norms. Instead of full vessel interment, keel only split in thirds lines, grave trench. Boards form lid. Liturgical psalm, written in runes on lead strip coils round deceased's wrist. Excavation at bore confirms 29 centimeter lead spiral bearing psalm. 33 excerpt, dated 1035 CE. Excerpt. Legacy persists in shipbuilding craft. Lapstrake method travels to England, birthing clinker-built cogs of Hanseatic League. Comparative plank overlap of 9 centimeters. Triple Viking overlap trades stealth for cargo height. Yet inner lashing root seams borrowed unchanged, evidence that silent lineage underlies bustling trade hulls. Longship echoes survive in language of care. Modern Norwegian word lidlas, literally soundless, appears earliest in rune poem, referencing oarstroke, etymology bridging centuries, with hush of blade through brine. Late epilogue of fleet enters sagas as tide of quiet iron. Chronicler Otter Snorrison writes rowers could split mist like fish and vanish before cockcrow. Schollers debate metaphor. Yet sonar tests on replica prove wake signature dissipates within 90 seconds. At 3 knot glide, half of comparable deeper draft. Nar. By 1150 CE, fjord yards refocus on fishing statboats. Oak scarcity and royal taxes quell war build. Yet tradition survives in story circles. Grandfather teaches grandson to carve miniature clinker toy, 9 planks either side. Rivets mimic with goosequill slips. Small knife scrapes wood shavings curling like pale feathers. Delft ethos informs later polar exploration. Nansen's Fram adopts tar-soaked oakum seams. First codified for Vikings, preventing freezing water ingress at -30°C. Linking 19th century science vessel back to fjord, whispers of 9th century. Archaeologists continue unearthing clues. Ship rivet count diagrams tattoo. Inside field notebooks, pattern borrowed from Jarl's old ledgers. TT scans of burial swords reveal pattern welding, identical to spear tips earlier studied, binding strands of metallurgy across millennium. Thus, silent blades, shields, and tactics ripple gently through time. They widen into mercantile sail, church psalm, polar hull, yet each retains hush of original ore dip below moonlit sky. If this unbroken weave of calm combat and evolving purpose has eased your listening breath, feel welcome to Let's Sleepyhead Chronicles stand vigil again. Now, let the faint ring of distant anvil fade, replaced by gentle tide against hull, and glide deeper into tranquil night. Soft drizzle settles over a quiet excavation trench, replacing clang of weapons with the muffled brush of trowel on silt. We move now from longships, alive upon water, to those that slumbered in earth for 1,000 winters, and to the careful hands that wake them again. Rain beads like quicksilver on tarpaulin edges, while distant gull calls fade behind slow heartbeats. Archaeologists first met a Viking hull in modern time on 8 March 1880, when farm boys near Sandfjord probed a low mound later called Gokstad. Beneath 3 meters of clay, they found oak planks still damp but whole. Hull length 23.8 meters. Beam 5.1, proportions verified today by laser scan within 2 centimeters of original logbook sketch. Gokstad's keel timber when sliced for dendrochronology in 1954. Matched growth rings of trees felled winter 890, 891 CAE in Vestfold. This precision arose from archive of 9,870 Scandinavian ring patterns, compiled onto punch cards fed by early IBM tabulator and unhurried dance. Museum workers in Christiania, now Oslo, wrapped every detached plank in linen soaked with alum to halt decay. Alum method, standard then, later proved destructive, leaching lignin until cells collapsed like spent honeycomb. Mass loss measured in Oseberg artifacts reaches 18% by 2020 spectroscopy, urging gentler futures. Another grave ship, Oseberg, uncovered 1904, carried a woven tapestry dyed with madder root, the earliest Scandinavian depiction of a horse-drawn sleigh. Dye analysis via high-performance liquid chromatography in 2009 traced matter source to Jutland Heath, 300 kilometers south, hinting at far contracts unspoken in sagas. Aegitas of Oseberg recorded tar, odor lingering 6 weeks after exposure, testament that pine resin locked into oak lignin across centuries. Modern gas chromatography isolates abietic acid, still viable at 0.003% mass. Chemists note potential for resin fingerprinting of lost forests. Faint resin note drifts amid sterile lab air. The 5 Skolderev wrecks deliberately scuttled to block Roskilde Fjord circa 1070 CE, surfaced in 1962 beneath layers of eelgrass. Skeletonized hulls demanded innovation, each fragment numbered, soaked in polyethylene glycol, peg for 8 years. Weight gain 150%, preventing warp. A low hum of circulation pumps ran day and night, as steady as lapping tide. Sekhenev 2, a sleek warship 30 meters long, provided 3 600 rivet positions. Digital photogrammetry aligns 94% within 1 millimeter, guiding replica construction have Hingston. In 27, that replica sailed 10 nautical miles from Roskilde to Dublin in 43 days. Average speed 5.9 knots, validating plank geometry drawn on waterlogged oak. Crew diaries from that voyage log noise spectra with hydrophones. Hull radiated 21 decibels below modern fiberglass yawl at identical speed, confirming ancient stealth claims under controlled measurement. Conservation laboratories now freeze-dry Viking timbers. Gokstad plank 17.6.2 meters long, spent 36 days at minus 20 degrees C under vacuum. Sublimated water measured 42 kilograms, leaving cell walls buttressed by peg microcrystals, resulting density 0.59. G Scintianter mirrors fresh oak, allowing exhibition without sag. Salme Rex in Saaremaa, Estonia. Excavated 2008-2012. Revealed 2 clinker boats buried with 40 skeleton. Isotope analysis of teeth shows origins spanning Malaren Valley to Österbotten coast. The first direct true multi-region evidence. Arrowheads at site share pentagonal Bodkin form, introduced earlier, connecting silent raid practice across Baltic arc ductile. DNA from Salme splinters matches Picea abies. Stands now vanished due to medieval logging. Genomics informs reforestation projects, seeking to revive lost spruce lineages. Forestry saplings grown from ancient seed proxies may one day provide hull wood again, tying laboratory bench to distant fjord shipyards. Underwater photogrammetry at Jutland's Arnøbank mapped Rex Game K12 in 2022. Algorithmic stitching rendered 4 billion point cloud. Each plank surface colored by iron. Model streams invite our headsets, letting public walk silent decks in digital twilight. UNESCO inscribed Nordic clinker boat tradition onto intangible cultural heritage list in 2021. Dossier sites 1931 registered small craft under 14 meters, still maintained with split spruce root lashings and pine tar coats, a direct line from 9th century ribs we earlier observed steaming. Subsiding hammer tap echoes from open shed. Apprentice boat builders in Hardanger receive state stipend equal to 1.2 median monthly wage, contingent on mastering 17 competencies. Scarf joint carving, root sewing, tar. Examination board times. Candidate at 25 minutes to finish tar wool caulking of 1 meter seam mirroring Sagayera. Pacing. Material scientists at NTNU test bacterial cellulose injection for stabilizing decayed hull microcavities. Pilot on Osberg frame fragment. Cut weight gain to 60% of peg while raising modulus 30%. Trials monitor acoustic damping. Cellulose infill absorbs 3 decibel tap sound versus untreated wood, preserving museum hush. Runestone Rock 39 near Ringerike once stood leaning. In 2015, laser vibrometry detected microfractures widening 0.02 millimeters each freeze thaw. Cycle threat to carved voyage lines. Engineers applied lime hemp grout, referencing mortar formula, originally reserved for Stave Church base stones. This quiet rescue extends stone life by projected 400 years. Remote sensing lifts new hulls from bogs without spade. Ground penetrating radar at Vestfold site flagged keel-shaped anomaly 2018. Inversion model suggests length 17.44 meters, beam 3.8. Core sampling pulled 3 splinters dating 733 CE 25. Oldest clinker find. Yet, excavation postponed to study anaerobic water chemistry that kept wood whole for 300 years. Cultural memory filters into language of code. Norwegian Meteorological Service names High Resolution Coastal Wind Model H Nurik after Saga helmsman. Algorithm resolves eddies behind islands down to 50 meters, guiding replica voyages along stealth corridors. Literary scholars compile Habbook, digital corpus of 95 sagas, indexing 311 boat descriptors. Frequency analysis reveals adjective deproing spikes in 11th century texts. Tapering by 13th textual echo of tactical shift we traced earlier toward broader snack car escorts. Meteorite iron beads in Osberg burial garnered 2023. Neutron tomography. Nickel ratio 12%. Cosmic ray exposure confirms origin in Campo del Cielo Fall, Argentina. Trade path hypothesis suggests stepwise handover across Muslim Spain to Frankish merchants, then north quiet diplomacy hidden beneath combed grass mound. Experimental archaeologists at Lira charter Skjoldeman, a 14-meter replica to study sleep. Volunteers measured heart rate variability in hammocks slung like those recent retrofits. Average nocturnal heart rate settled 54 BPM, 5 beats below control on land. Hull creaks once, gentle cradle for minds. Subfloor museum sensors capture moisture swings under exhibit hulls. When visitor count tops 30 per day, exhaled humidity rises 6%. Oak moisture climbs beyond 18% risk threshold. Museums now schedule quiet nights, closing galleries every Monday, paralleling hull maintenance off seasons a millennium prior. Crowdsourcing fuels research. Divers using lower-cost LIDAR pods mapped 42 square kilometers of Kattegat seabed, spotting likely wreck outlines in 19 cases. Citizen data enters National Maritime Archive. Proof that watchful community extends silent fleet into digital future. Scholarship crosses oceans. Amoriwaka builders visited Roskilde in 2019, exchanging burnishing stone techniques that yield smoother plank interior. In return, they taught Viking Ship Museum staff flax, lash weaving. Comparative drag tank tests recorded 4% efficiency gain on new Viking replica Tyra. Climate scientists core Baltic mud near Gotland tracking. piney tar residue peaks that coincide with enhanced North Atlantic Oscillation Index, positive phases warmer. Winters allowed longer shipyard times, connecting meteorology. Legal protection echoes Jarl Law. Norwegian Cultural Heritage Act of 1978 imposes fine equivalent to 100 dairy cows market value for deliberate wreck damage, the same metric we heard priced original longship construction. Jurists cite historical resonance as deterrent easy for fishermen to grasp. Educational VR modules let students step into 3D hull interior lit by shielded resin lamp. Noise simulation calibrated using hydrophone data from Sea Stallion, teaching teenage users how a small creek can grow. Surveys show 87% feel calmer after session. Sleepy pedagogy echoes channel ethos. Acoustic engineers create modern stealth boat, paint by analyzing soot fish oil mix, once brushed on Viking hulls. Nanosilica matrix infused with fatty acids lowers sonar backscatter 12%. Patent filed 2024 credits Norse precedent in footnote. Reaching ages through muted frequency curves. Philanthropic fund, Njord. Quiet Sea endows scholarships for women learning clinkercraft, honoring weavers of sails, now studied via scanning electron micrograph. Thread twist angle measured 22 degree. Optimum for crosswind torsion. Program fosters revival with same calm diligence. Whisper of linen under fingertip. Legacy thrives not only in science, but lullabies. In Faroese village Gjogf, elders still sing. Drakensrik, a cradle hymn tracing hull glide through moonlit fjord. Ethnomusicologists' spectrogram shows fundamental at 180 hertz, matching rowing chant pitch, previously noted oral echo, shaping new dreams. If these unearthed hull laboratory whispers and living crafts have guided your thoughts gently toward calmer tides, consider letting sleepy chronicles escort future Mesoc timbers, now cradled by light and science, drift through memory like slow currents beneath still stars, carrying your night into deepest rest. A low murmuring surf folds upon midnight blue shingle as researchers wheel a slender sensor buoy into the shallows. From buried timbers, we now glide forward, exploring how tomorrow's winds, forests, and algorithms will shelter the old clinker wisdom. New questions rise quietly. Can silent hulls still teach resilience amid a warming sea? Satellite altimetry from the European Cryosat has traced North Atlantic wave heights climbing 9% since 1993. A gentle yet real swell that experimental archaeologists must consider when plotting replica voyages. Climate models, downscaled at 4-kilometer resolution, suggest spring equinox gales will peak 2 days earlier. By 20,050, nudging future, sustainable forestry answers the timber call. In 2024, Denmark's national park Mols Bjerge began cultivating slow-grown oak saplings spaced 4 meters apart to mimic medieval canopy competition. Dendrometers record radial growth under 5 millimeters per year, targeting dense grain ideal for keel beams. By the year 2150, a patient pact spanning 6 human generations. Modern tar kilns now burn forestry waste instead of whole pines. A kiln at Kaupanga channels syngas through ceramic filters, capturing 87% of particulates and condensing pine tar rich in guaiacol. Still perfumed with forest memory, yet cleaner for shipwright lungs. Carbon accounting shows every ton of char produced offsets 1.4 tons of fossil carbon, otherwise emitted by synthetic sealants. Inside the Hard Angel workshop, a computer-guided bandsaw traces plank, curves from digital lofting files, derived via ferro-arm scans of Skoldeler 3. The blade thickness of 2 millimeters saves 11% of timber compared to hand adze work, but craftsmen insist on finishing each plank with silent hand planes, wood whispers, lost in whir of motor's guide. Final fit. Bioracing research pairs ancient pitch with algae-derived polymers. Tests at Syntef fold brown kelp polyols into piney tar matrix, raising flexural strength 18% while maintaining water repellence. Long-term immersion tanks at 10 degrees C brine shell. No delamination after 40 hours, promising for keel shoes that once relied on copper spikes. Digital acousticians build wake fingerprints. Hydrophone arrays strung beneath Sognefjorden record spectral signatures of oak, larch, and carbon fiber hulls gliding at identical speed. Viking replica registers peak at 210. Hertz lowest of all, confirming the layered planking and spruce root lash. Still hush water, better than much lighter composites. To engage new hands, the Nordic Clinker Alliance launched an age apprenticeship platform in 2025. Students across 7 countries log weekly skill uploads. Scarf joint cuts filmed at 30 FPS. Tar viscosity measured with kitchen thermometer. Master builders review and tag clips in digital rune fonts, awarding bronze, silver, and gold dragon tokens. Completion of 100 tokens qualifies the learner to attend on-site Gile, echoing ancient rite through glowing screen. Tourism economies adapt in kind. A study by the University of Iceland calculates replica sail excursions on Breiðafjörður inject 4.2 million euros annually into coastal villages. Yet ticket systems cap passenger loads below sound thresholds calculated from cetacean monitoring. Thus, porpoise clicks remain undisturbed, while travelers meet hush of clinker boards. Farther west, indigenous partnerships bloom. In 2026, the Nunavut government welcomed Norse replica Hevitsarkur to Labrador. Joint crew of Inuit and Scandinavian youth compared kayak drumbeats with low rowing hums, mapping. Oceanographers fit hulls with nitrate sensors to trace subsurface blooms along Viking routes. Sailors once smell seaweed to find shore. Now, silent ships transmit data every hour via iridium bursts, informing climate models while preserving antique glide. Augmented reality sailcloth appears on training deck. Microbe threads shimmer faint star patterns atop wool surface, shifting with GPS to teach helmsmen celestial fixes even under city light pollution. Brightness remains under half-lux, keeping night vision intact and maintaining sacred dimness of deck. Regulations mature too. The 2030 Baltic Quiet Waters Act classifies clinker replicas under heritage displacement craft, granting waiver from AI's beacons within coastal heritage zones to maintain authentic soundscape, provided voyage plans file. Researchers test flax fiber ore blades grown with minimal irrigation. Blade weight falls below 1.1 kilograms. Splash radius trimmed a fifth compared to ash. Rowers note softer wrist strain. Biomechanical sensors hidden beneath grips reveal 6% efficiency gain. Quiet technology rooted in field furrows. In Trondheim Harbor, a tracheal hybrid emerges, oak central spine flanked by two retractable flax composite stabilizers. During stealth approach, stabilizers fold flush under nailless dovetail, hinges lubricated with hemp oil. Tow tank trials cut rolling moment nearly half, hinting at polar expeditions where calm cannot be relied upon. Museums open listening galleries. Visitors don bone conducting headsets, standing before Gokstad hull while infusion pumps shift. Humidity inside glass case. They hear real-lock time, creak data converted to low drones. The vessel's subtle respiration. Heart monitors show visitor pulse, aligning with oak size, replicating the seaborne, calm inside urban walls. Shala exchanges cross spheres. A Japanese Wazen builder from Tokyo Bay trades scarf shaving planes for Norwegian rock knives. Joint workshop reveals identical 14 degree bevel sweet spot for clean wetwood curl despite 0 kilometers of cultural drift. Shared meal ends in mutual vow to host youth sail from Hokkaido to Tromsø. In 2032, even Needle Ink bears clinker ghost. EU Maritime directive footnote cites Lapstrike acoustical advantage recognized since at least 820 CE, legitimizing small craft leniencies. Policy authors credit field recordings of Sea Stallion. Wake data science gives quiet heritage a future birth. Philosophy departments turn to Longships silence as metaphor. Papers analyze Anthropocene hush, where minimal impact voyage models counter industrial roar. Conference at Aarhus University holds keynote aboard moored replica. Scholars present under dim sail shadow, each slide flickering from battery lantern. Hush respected as research ethic. Meanwhile, children carve miniature hulls on school 3D printers. Plair filament scented with pine oil weaves. 0.2 millimeter layers. Yet teachers finish with beeswax rub, letting tactile warmth remind students that code still bows to grain. Meta archives collate family sagas with blockchain timestamps, protecting oral histories from digital erosion. Each uploaded grandmother tale of calm oars splits into IPS shards, stored across ice-cap data centers, decentralized fjord of memory. Astronomers schedule silent ship nights at coastal observatories. Replica crews extinguish lamps during meteor showers. Hulls anchor offshore as dock platforms, offering stable camera base with negligible vibrational noise thanks to clinker damping. Overhead, Perseids arc. Below, water mirrors falling fire. Both worlds quiet. Engineers adapt hull concept for Mars Salt Lake rover. Overlapping composite planks allow flexible chassis negotiating salt crust ridges. Design brief sites Viking hull. Flex study earlier. Spruce root. Thus, fjord hush seeds interplanetary travel. Cricketing of cedar replaced by whir of Martian dust. Yet principle endures. Cool night breeze rustles prototype. Sail stored in loft. Faint scent of kelp polymer drifting among half-lit rafters. If these forward-glancing tides and patient crafts have eased your breathing tonight, think of sleepy chronicles as watchmen at bow subscribe softly. And we will keep vigil across horizons yet uncharted. Allow new winds to carry your thoughts over gentle swells of possibility into seas of unbroken rest, where memory and future dream together. Night clouds drift apart, exposing a lattice of steady stars. In their mild glow, we slip away from timbers and tar kilns toward quieter, warmer rituals. How longship crews nourished bodies, refreshed minds, and lulled themselves along the slow breathing of waves. A coal orange ember winks within a shielded firebox, guiding attention inward. Even the most silent raids depended on caloric accounting. Excavations at Kopang Midden reveal fish vertebrae lengths averaging 14 centimeters, Atlantic cod, yielding roughly 115 kilocalories per 100 grams. Muster rolls prescribe each oarsman one dried cod portion per watch, totaling 900 kilocalories daily when paired with rye bannock weighing 180 grams. Comparative study by Scandinavian Nutrition Council 2018 shows ratio mirrors endurance rower needs within 5%. Rye flour milled on rotary querns of volcanic quernstone carry beta-glucan fiber that slowed glucose uptake, preventing drowsy sugar dips during 4-hour rowing spell. Samples from a quern workshop at Rive display rind staining of iron oxide, confirming the use of red sandstone flakes to keep grind surfaces sharp. Protein gaps filled with lamb jerky cured in seawater brine. Collagen crosslink analysis on Gota Elf. Jerky scraps indicates 9-day salt soak achieved. Water activity 0.6, low enough to liquid intake balanced stealth. A brood to 2.2% alcohol. Hydrated while sparing biliary strain. Residue of humulone in barrel staves suggests hop addition by late 10th century. Mild antiseptic stain spoiled. Barrels tested at the National Brewery Museum lost carbonation through stave pores at only 0.1 bar per week, making fizz inaudible at night. Vitamin security came from sprouted peas. Crews soaked peas in lukewarm bilge water for 48 hours, then rinsed and wrapped them in sailcloth near mast foot. Germination doubled as moisture gauge. If sprouts browned early, bilge salinity had risen in organic sensor centuries before electronic probes. When seas calmed after sunset, a clay brazier the width of a helm cap warmed thin oat gruel. Biochar flecks mixed into embers muffled crackle. Char derived from alder shavings fired in reduced oxygen trenches on shore. Trial cooks today confirm decibel drop of 6 compared to pine campfire, aligning with stealth creep. Rest cycles follow lunar thinking. Quartermaster carved shift wheel from whale vertebra. 8 spokes mark segments. Ivory peg advanced every 90 minutes by timekeeper's water dropper. Dropper, a walrus bladder with pinhole, emptied at consistent rate, proven by modern chronographers to vary less than 5 minutes over 12 hours when bladder kept beneath wool to regulate temperature. Sleeping positions consider hull geometry. Thwarts spaced 0.8 meters apart allowed warriors to lie angled across benches, heads propped on bundled cloak, body alignment at 12-degree slant, minimized vessel roll perception, a figure replicated in contemporary vestibular studies, showing reduced seasickness onset by 22%. Hammocks arrived late. Before that, mats woven of nettle fibers dominated. Nettle microfibrils possess roughness that micromassages skin, maintaining circulation in cold Atlantic air. Textiles found in Mammon Grave contain nettle warp threads with 18 at twist per centimeter. Twice modern linen adding spring to bedding, to still racing thoughts, scalds led breath ladders. On exhale, they chanted tone sequence, descending by minor third each long breath, usually 7 rungs. Osteological inspection of Husby warrior ribs reveals superior chest expansion markers, sign of habitual deep diaphragmatic breathing, body evidence of meditative drill. Sensory minimalism extended to lantern light. Crews soaked linen wicks in goose fat filtered through charcoal, producing flame temperature 100 degrees C cooler than tallow, thus dimmer and less flicker. Light span cut to 1 cubit radius, preserving night vision for watchmen scanning horizon silhouettes. Dream interpretation shaped morale. Rune sticks recovered at board note symbols beside crew names indicating night vision types. Serpent UA warning. Wheat UQ fortune. Morning council weighed these dreams. Negative omens triggered spare day ashore. A psychological tension valve verified in later monastic annals criticizing pagan superstition delays. Music seldom rose above hum. Yet small boned flutes travel, instrument fragments from Eidsborg average pitch. D4. Reconstructed copies played at 50 decibels, a lullaby volume, match to wind hiss, scholars at Bergen measure, sound decay over water. Flute tones vanish at 40 meters, ensuring no coastal sentry heard. A taste of home rode inside spice box carved of yew. Coriander, seeds imported from Anglo-Saxon markets. Spiced porridge, once each moon cycle. Modern sensory panels score coriander note as warm citrus. Linking with limbic calm. Neuroscientists propose olfactory anchors, lessened homesickness stress. Hydration, ritual harnessed neurochemistry. Copper ladle struck rim of ale barrel before pouring. Vibration lasted 3 seconds, establishing auditory cue for drink break. Heart rate monitors on reenactors show pulse adjustment downward by average 4 beats upon hearing note. Pavlovian rest marker installed within routine. Copper ring echoes, then quiet. For illness beyond salves, herbal steam baths materialized on sheltered beaches. Crews erected seal skin dome. Heated basalt stones in driftwood fire. And poured yarrow infusion, carbon isotopy ratio, from stones at Longships meadows. Bath site matches local lava, confirming practice reached North America. The mental strain of ambush nights eased through storytelling cycles called Sefen Sugo, sleep tales. Each tale ended with phrase Og alt var kurt, and all became still, cueing listeners to close eyes. Linguists find phrase recul. Every 280 20 words across manuscripts, matching natural breath, pacing of relaxed adult. Nutrient calculations included. Trace minerals, analyses of charred leak bulbs from Dublin Norse levels reveal high molybdenum. Cofactor in detoxifying wooden boat fungi, listing of leak among ship. Supplies in Orkney Law Code, year 974. Hints at microbiological insight, disguised as culinary tradition. Luminous algae offered twilight entertainment. Sailors dragged hemp net to gather Noctiluca scintillans, then jarred them. Gentle shake produced blue-green glow. Used as silent group light. Laboratory revival experiment at Roskilde in 2021. Replicated jars that remained luminescent for 3 nights. Photosites feeding on trace nutrients in seawater. When fear spiked before dawn strikes, crew shared shields circle meditation. Warriors linked shields flat on deck, lay inside circle, eyes on star cap between shield rims. Psychologists measuring cortisol on reenactors. Note 18%. Drop after 10-minute shield circle. Corroborating saga hints of collective composure. Caloric surplus days allowed sweet treats. Honey cakes baked in clay molds, shaped like walnut knot. Weighed 60 grams. Carbonized crumb from one cake at Hedeby contains bee pollen of heather species, giving floral notes that aromatherapists today associate with tranquility. Hygiene kept morale lofty. Seal oil soap mixed with birch ash removed tar. Lipid analysis of bones from mass grave at Repton indicates skin fat percentage comparable to agrarian peers, contradicting stereotype of growth. Soap scented with juniper kept insects away, without sharp odor, traveling far. Oath of rest sealed each watch turnover. Spoken lull. Loki lend goga svev. Let Loki lend good sleep. Irony in invoking trickster, framed rest as guarded by mischief already named, diffusing anxiety. Folklorist database counts phrase in 4 distinct runic graffiti on Greenland church beams, late in century. Christian psalmody layered onto breath ladders. Psalm 4, Domine. Hummed on same, descending thirds, bridging faith shift. Harmonium scholars, note step intervals, matched stave church acoustics, enabling small choirs to maintain hush. Modern parallels thrive. Sleep scientists at NTUMU recreate Kaduri supper under red sailcloth, record EGA of volunteers, lulled by rowing hum sample. Delta wave onset shortens by 7 minutes against urban control night. Lab software traces slow waves across screen like calm swells. Nutritionists analyze dried cod amino profile. High tryptophan ratio fosters serotonin precursor. Perhaps unknowing mariners engineered chemical lull. Oat gruel's magnesium further relaxes muscle tension details. Sagas omit, but bodies remember. Replica voyages adopt mindfulness. Log. Each crew writes 3 lines nightly describing smell, sound, and sight of calm moment. Data mining, 600 logs, find scent of pine tar most cited, followed by distant gull and silver star reflection constancies, stitching centuries. Back ashore, cognitive therapists prescribe clinker breathing. Patient taps finger lightly on table. Every exhale, simulating rivet cadence. Pilot study shows reduced insomnia symptom. Severity score by 20% over 4 weeks. If this gentle weaving of diet, rest, and inward quiet has slowed your pulse, consider letting Sleepy Chronicles ferry further evenings. Subscribe softly, and we will whisper more of still horizons. Let your heartbeat sink with distant oar strokes, and drift into a sleep as sure and steady as quiet water beneath a patient keel. Pale silver mist lingers over a hushed shoreline assembly. From planks and provisions, our journey now eases into the legal seams and social fibers that held each silent hull within a broader human weave. No clamor rises, only parchment crackle, and steady breathing as neighbors tally duties beside the fjord. The dumb obligations formed the backbone of naval readiness. Gulating law scrolls, copied on calfskin about the 40 homesteads, record that every 40 homesteads Ball Ode, one fully equipped longship, crewed by a minimum of 25 oarsmen. Fines for absence equaled a milk cow for each missing rower, half payable in butter, half in silver, a split ensuring both winter calories and metal liquidity. Ship costs never fell on one purse. Ownership divided into skiprise shares. Keel valued at 12 cows, each plank at 1, mast and yard together at 3. Sail at 6 totals, aligning with ledger cited in Frostating Code Line 91. When damage struck, shareholders covered repair proportional to their plank count. This early mutual insurance soothed risk like calm tide under hull. Women held silent stakes. Excavated lead weights stamped with spindle motif, found near Kalpang loom pits, weigh precisely 100 grams, the legal ounce for trade. Saga of the River Rancher tells of Gudrun, who funded half a sail through such weights, taking future plunder share. Legal scholars note that under Gragas, widows could pledge cloth or silver up to one-third estate into voyages, their signatures cut as runes onto mast heel. Thralls contributed labor tax called Vaisladrag. Each enslaved woodcutter felled 2 oaks per season. Records on birch bark from Novgorod list 12 Norwegian thralls, delivering timber down Vina River in 1032 CE. In exchange, masters gained duty reduction equal to 1 plank value, evidence that even coerced hands rippled into fiscal balance sheets. Assembly days followed, ritual pacing. Frostating met when cuckoo sang twice after spring melt. Delegates seated in half-circle mirroring ship prow. Litigants placed miniature keel on grass to symbolize dispute afloat. If judgment favored plaintiff, 3 barley grains scattered across model echo of Nord blessing we met at Keel Lie. Faint barley scent mixes with damp earth. Crime aboard invoked maritime wergill. Striking a fellow oarsman costs 6 ounces silver on land, but 12 at sea. The doubled fine recognized fragile crew harmony. A rune stick from Bergen names. Hrafen fined 1 iron sword for cuffing a bowman during night watch. The sword later emerges in Dublin Hoard, tracing justice into trade. Inheritance law protected hull continuity. On owner's death mid-voyage, Frostating Clause 225 required captain to sail directly to nearest thing where heirs gathered. If storm forced diversion, 2 crewmates stayed with ship as breath witnesses, ensuring plunder distribution stayed truthful. DNA work on Gokstad skeleton isotopes shows Western Fjord lineage, supporting chroniclers that heirs sometimes reburied kin, with ship fragments for legitimacy. Quiet contracts bound merchants and captains. The ferry brief charter, several preserved on walrus parchment, detailed freight terms. 1 clause fixed compensation at 1 mark silver per ton, wasted by sea. Another limited dispute shout to 5 words each side to preserve. Linguists link modern Norwegian idiom. Fem ord. As peace warning, interest on voyage loans accrued in kind, not speech. A lender might claim first 10 beaver pelts rather than coin, lowering on-deck noise of counting silver under wary moon. Archaeological tallies reveal pelts with willow tags, incised lender rune. 95 such tags found along Vinland encampment layers. Law also regulated signal secrecy. Early 11th century ordinance from King Olaf forbade sounding bronze lure horns within 3 leagues of enemy coast, punishable by hand amputation. Replica voyage logs show crews substituting leather mouth, trumpets producing 55 decibel murmur, just under law threshold, proving a regulation-shaped acoustic evolution. Ships spoke for communities abroad. Runestone So 352 reads, Tosti carved this stone in memory of Gudmund. He steered the lawship of Yederhundra. Scholars interpret lawship as vessel, carrying thing delegates to a planned moot. A swimming parliament, feasts, sealed bargains. Each new shareholder drank first a cup, ale mingled with drop of pine tar, symbolizing wealth tied to hull resin. Chemical assay of residue on Trondheim's silver cup reveals dehydrobiatic acid traces amid maltose. First physical proof of Targal ritual hinted in Irbigja saga. Silence remained legal too. Witness oath demanded quiet heart. Frostating states, hold breath thrice, then speak true. Physiologists test reenactors, noting slowed pulse fosters steadier voice, reducing perjury risk involuntarily. Clergies rise, layered, fresh order. Bishop's edict of 1027 required every Norse ship to tithe 1 silver penny per captured slave. Coins funded Stavy church lanterns still glowing today. Yet, Jarl edicts limited tithe to outbound voyages only, preserving stealth on return when captured be hell. Cool. By mid-12th century, royal levies replaced communal ledan. The liding fleet drew from taxable hides. Scribes moved counting indoors, away from fjord hush. Longship lines shortened. Beamy Snekya ceded to call. Yet, lapstrake craft lingered in law as small seahorse. Owners paid reduced customs if hull bore fewer than 16 oars, an echo of earlier stealth, still rewarding silence. Quiet customs traveled further. Novgorod Ustav Maritime, code the 170. Mentions Norman peace knock. Trader must wrap hull thrice with birch wand before boarding pier. Informing clerk without raising voice. Practice traced by Birkbark letter Nombo 295. Signed by Merchant Ulep. Modern law courts reference Viking precedents. Norwegian Maritime Act 1994. Paragraph 6 calls ship juridical person capable of lien, citing precedents from Frostating placard. Legal historians champion this lineage during parliamentary debates. reminding lawmakers that quiet keel once unified coast into realm. Community funds mirror old plank shares today. Coastal cooperatives, crowd-of-finance, replica hulls. Digital ledger tokens titled Planky Mint stand for virtual planks, echoing towers worth in silver, but now priced in kilowatt hours of renewable energy. Sail weavers, secure intellectual property. U-Craft Registry 2028. Grants Halland for shaft diamond weave. Protected status citing 947 C. Woolensvang. Sail fragment. Crafted label. Stitched onto modern replica sails. Warns against unlicensed patterns. Legal hush guarding ancient geometry. Dispute mediation, even shapes. Sleep science. Therapists adapt thing, circle format. Clients place wooden boat token at center. Speak 5 words per turn. Mirroring fjord assembly calm. Pilot therapy lowers conflict cortisol 25%. Research shows thin curl of wood shavings, drifts from lawyer carpenter's plane, scent mingling with distant sea. If this lattice of law, wealth, and muted duty has eased your evening, you may let Sleepy Chronicles accompany more night tides. Subscribe softly if heart inclines. Feel statutes settle like smooth sand around anchor fluke, letting your thoughts rest motionless beneath gentle waters. The legal hush of fjord assemblies recedes, and a quieter shimmer draws near. The fine lines and whispered legends that once wrapped every silent hull in layers of meaning. A single lantern's ember glows along freshly oiled figurehead grain, opening a pathway into art, symbol, and memory. Oldest figureheads began as simple prow curls of birch root, yet by mid-9th century, shipwrights chose seasoned pine for dragon necks, carving scales with angled gouge at 7 cuts per inch. Resin rubbed into grooves darkened wood to umber, while scale ridges remained pale, producing chiaroscuro patterns visible under starlight, yet muted at dawn, frightening to spirits, invisible to centuries. Archaeological tool mark counts on Osberg fragment F312 match exactly 56 such diagonal strokes per scale tier. Color palettes seldom shouted, traces of red ochre and bone black on Gokstad planks. Reveal ratio 3 parts, earth red to 1 part soot, mixed in fish oil so thin it soaked grain rather than coated surface. Optical spectrometry in 2019 measured reflectance 7% lower than bare pine, enough to swallow moonlight without adding weight. Decorative lines followed sacred geometry. Border stripes at 1 or 3, spacing along sheer strake, echoing cosmological triad of Asgard, Midgard, Hell. Interior beams bore runic verse rather than paint. 1 Gokstad rib reads, Thorir carved, may keel run true, sun or unseen. The inscription sits 30 centimeters above waterline, where only crew eyes would meet it, private pact between craftsman and sea dog. Laser scanning shows each rune stroke deepened during final sanding, ensuring letters stayed crisp. Even after tar coats, sails carried subtle iconography woven directly into weft. Warp-whited looms in good bronze style produced diamond repeats along top third of wool panels. Each diamond counted 5 warp threads across code for 5 daughter knots of Norns, signifying textile. Micro-key imaging reveals raised floats just 0.3 millimeters, undetectable to distant lookouts, yet tactically tactile for riggers feeling edge in darkness. Prior to stealth approach on Christian coasts, crews detached dragon heads, slotting them into pine chests lined with moss. Law of King Hcon the Good. C960 CE required removal within league of shore to avoid spirits of land offense. Compliance fines equaled 2 sheep. Replica test in 2014 showed removal added merely 9 minutes to procedure. Trading intimidation for ideological courtesy. Runic staves acted as portable tale prompts. Skulls etched skip-it verse beginnings on willow wands. Each first line 12 syllables. Guiding improvisation of full 36. Line drot quet stanza. 24-4 wands from brigand layers exhibit burn marks at one tip. Evidence of rotation over ship lantern, so runes gleamed sequentially, pacing storyteller breath. Mythic beasts adorned shield interiors, where enemies rarely looked, while oil charcoal drawings depict Yonangandra biting its tail. Radiocarbon, date 895 QTC Ew. Warriors stared at coiled serpent before battle, practicing gleamer breathing inhale 4 counts. Hold 2. Exhale 6, mirroring serpent coil geometry in numbered beats. Carvers employed iron points tipped with meteoric nickel, 12% alloy, slicing cleaner than plain iron. Metallurgy tests on tool hoard from Borg confirm Widmanstetten patterns, linking craft prestige to sky-fallen metal that never rusts, a fitting emblem for stories destined to outlast wood. Paint recipes adapted across seas. Irish annals describe blackbelly foreigners due to hulls coated in bog oak dye. Spectra from Dublin ship number 4 confirm humic acid absorbed into outer plank layer, imparting infrared absorption, peak rare for pine tar finishes. This dye persisted longer than ochre, but required 6-day soak of oak gall and iron filing schedule only fleets wintering abroad could spare. Storytelling circles formed after second watch, oars stacked. Crew sat on upturned shields inside ring of tallow candles, shielded by horn discs. Candle lenses diffused warm light without flicker, reducing vertigo on rolling deck. Scald began with hair new. Hearken now, then head bowed so voice rose through nasal passages, projecting at 45 decibels, just under gull cry threshold. Genealogies served as social glue. Each warrior recited ancestor chain back 7 generations. Errors meant forfeiting mead cup that round. Linguists trace stable phrase. Bjorn son Helgi pattern across 63 sagas, anchoring identity amid sea miles. Figurehead design peaked with gripping beast motif, foreglims clutching neck loop, eyes almond-shaped, drilled with iron bit 4 millimeters wide. Drilling sometimes filled with luminous fox, fire, fungus, paste, bioluminescent, glow, aiding night boarding. Without torchlight, modern recreation achieved 12-hour glow at 0.05 lux. Rare glass inlays accentuated dragon pupils. Cobalt shards sourced from Rhineland, melted into sand molds, inserted hot into socket recess. Thermal contraction, difference, locked pupil bead without pitch. Chemical fingerprint of Natru cow ratio proves cross Europe trade even for hush craft. Sagas evolved aboard. Earliest mention of Vinland voyage appears scratched on spruce spar of replica Islandinger in 2000. Inscription mimicry demonstrates ongoing tradition of inscribing achievements on museum curators coat spar yearly with cedar oil, letting modern letters age as softly as ancient. Loom whites found at Schleswig Bear stamped Odin's ravens alongside Christian cross, showing syncretism. Weight mass 1.2 kilograms, standardized warp tension, giving uniform cloth. Yet double symbol hints at faith fusion we encountered in dual talismans. Contemporary artisans revive these motifs with digital relief routers. Software translates Nordrun font into tool paths, depth controlled by stylus pressure sensors, capturing carver hum when hum falls below 80 Hz. Router slows, teaching student to keep calm breath. Sound art installations place hydrophones on replica hull. As rivet lines pass water, each produces frequency 200-350 Hz. Musicians remix into ambient track plank song, broadcast in sleep therapy rooms, connecting listeners to hull's melodic DNA. Psychoacoustic studies reveal repeating wave noise within hull cavity forms natural pink noise curve, enhancing sleep consolidation. Data logged on Sea Stallion voyage showed REM duration increased by 11% among crew, sleeping near midship rib, where resonance peaked. Modern tattooists adopt Viking line weight, single pass charcoal ink at 0.8 millimeter, etching or cadence marks on rowers' wrists for mindfulness. Clinical trial at University of Oslo records decreased anxiety markers when users rub tattoo while breathing. Cultural festivals include silent figurehead procession. Participants carry carved heads under linen veils to fjord edge, lowering them to reflect starlight for 3 breaths, reenacting removal, custom, and reminding townsfolk of humility before shores. Our centuries carved myths hold hull and heart in gentle symmetry. If these quiet shapes and storied lines have lightened your waking gaze, sleepy chronicles will keep carving new paths. Subscribe softly, and we shall etch more dreams in calm gray. Let runes and moonlit wood merge behind your eyelids, now guiding you into rest deep as pine beneath resin-scented night.